Hi, good evening. Yeah, I'm so happy to be doing another live with you. I did quite a few of these last year and they just felt really good and were really connecting and got people really talking and thinking and getting you in touch. It was really lovely. So last year when I was doing them and I talked to the lady I'm going to be speaking to today, while I was doing specifically this bunch of talks last year via Facebook Live, I talked to Bliss and I asked her about her boundaries as I was asking lots of my favourite people and my favourite teachers to talk to me and talk to you about where are their boundaries. So you might have seen Bliss there, and I think, you know, statistically and through conversations and everything, Bliss's chat was one of the favorites. She's so engaging and she's so knowledgeable. So she's just one of my favorite people to talk with, just in a friendly way, let alone about the work. So I'm really, really chuffed to be having a chat with Bliss this evening. And I can see that the tech is working, so that's really exciting. So she should appear any moment now. So when Bliss arrives, we'll get to say hello to her and see her gorgeous grin. And Bliss is one of the women who I turn to as a favourite teacher. She is a mentor to me, and I often send people her way if I feel that that maybe there's something that I can't do, or that that needs a bit more expertise, or maybe I don't have the time or the energy for. And Bliss is just, oh, she's just always so helpful. So Facebook says she's on her way. It's a bit like a phone call now. It feels a bit like it's ringing through. But she's done her click to add herself in, so she should be here any moment. And if you have anything you'd like to ask Bliss about, or that you'd like us to talk about, please type in the comments. You can also message me. Facebook just told me that you can message me directly. But do pop things in the comments if you want us to talk about them, and we'll try and get round to your questions. So Bliss is, and I'm sure she'll update you when the tech gets around to bringing her in fully. Maybe Bliss, we could try again, because it keeps going, it keeps saying it's adding. So I might just cancel this one and invite you to do the adding again. Thank you. So yeah, she'll update you when she arrives. But Bliss is, she's a priestess. She's an astonishingly knowledgeable tantra, shamanic, body worker, amongst many other things. She's done the closing the bones on me after I've had my babies. She was my doula for my last birth. She does amazing doula work. I'd highly recommend her. And here she is in all her glory. We've got you. You're here. Welcome.
I have a shiny forehead in this video, so you can see my radiant light shining out to all of you.
Always.
Anyway,
welcome. So lovely to see you. How are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I'm here with my shower curtain because it's just such a fabulous background. But the lighting in my bathroom is extremely bright. So I'm going to try and be in a place where my forehead is not dominating our conversation. So I think if I stand here and don't move, then we're good. We're good. Hi.
It's usually mine that dominates conversations, so we can compete. Hello, and how are you? I haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, I'm really good. I just got home a few minutes ago. So today I have spent the day at the community project that I've been involved with in my local town. So it's very exciting. So over the last few years, we have been planning and dreaming and visioning to have a space which is a goddess temple in the town of Stroud. And we opened the temple last October, just before Samhain. And so today was the day when we did the second change of the altar. So this is the third altar season of the Wheel of the Year that we've done, because obviously we opened the temple at Samhain. So we had a harvest altar. And honouring the beloved dead, and then we had an altar for Yule. So that was really lovely. So we had, you know, all this kind of beautiful amethyst, and we had a beautiful stag. You know, we were kind of honouring the dear mother of midwinter. And so today we've done one for Imbolc. So I've put this pair of gorgeous swan's wings on the altar, and they're kind of like leaning behind the goddess. So when we put Kuda, who's the goddess of the Cotswolds, we put Kuda's statue on the altar, and it looks like she's become an angel because she has these huge wings which are kind of emanating out of her. So that was really wonderful. I love creating sacred space. It's just one of the ways that I practice my devotion to the sacred feminine. So I got to do that. And then we held a ceremony in the temple, which was for Moonflower. So one of the women who comes to my sister circles, her daughter began her bleeding on Friday, and so she was very excited. She sent me a message, we have to do something, Bliss, we have to say. So they came today, and she brought two of her friends, you know, and I had my daughter was in the circle, and my sister and another friend, and it was just so lovely. So I just feel so privileged to have been able to do this. And during the time when we're changing the temple to the season of the maiden, on the day that we built the new altar, we have someone who's coming, who's stepping into her maiden self and really honouring her moonflower. So that was fantastic, because I think this is what this temple is for. You know, it's for us to come together as a community, celebrate ourselves, celebrate rites of passage, and be together in a safe, held space where we can really be actually quite real about what it means to engage with the sacred feminine. So yay!
Such an amazing example of the seasons and the cycles and how it all fits together, and how important it is. It's a great example, and how beautiful you got to do that today. You taught me last year. Was it last year? I think it was, wasn't it? Some additional work into my cycles wisdom. Are you still doing that course,
Yeah,
Bliss?
you're so wise. You know, anyway, Ruth, it was such an honor to have you as part of that. Yeah, so we are doing the Lunar Womb Temple training. That is ongoing online. So I'm doing that with my third circle of sisters online. And I'm also running a temple arts training. So that's like an in-person. So all of the things that we do together online, we're then bringing into embodied practice as well. So we are just about to enter the journey of the gateways of the vulva. So that's going to be the next online session. We're going to be exploring the vulva. And in the temple arts training this weekend, we're going to be doing body work and working constitutionally. So we're going to be looking at the use of herbs, and we're going to be doing some womb massage and some wrapping with rebozo. So we're going to be talking about these kind of cultural histories, this wisdom of womb wisdom, really, which has been thankfully held by lineage keepers around the world. And so the people that hold these teachings, they tend to be people that have survived the damage, really, of colonial genocide. So really honouring that lineage, that there are these traditional curanderas, you know, and traditional midwives who have carried this wisdom of binding and rocking and wrapping. So, I mean, this is a somatic practice, but it's something that's particularly good for trauma, and really entering into any kind of transition in your life. So we're going to be teaching this rocking and wrapping practice, holding one another. And we're probably also going to be doing some steaming as well. So we're going to be doing some yoni steaming, and we're going to talk about using different herbs. And so for me, I'm really passionate about this because I feel as though there has been a really bad press around this practice, and it has been portrayed by the media, you know, but also by conventional obstetrics and gynecology sphere as being something that is quite dangerous and something that actually has no benefits, and that's not true. So I've collated huge amounts of research from around the world, and also data which has come from other gynecologists and people who are really looking at these traditions and why women were using these steaming practices and these herbs. So it is about creating a safe space to really connect with your reproductive physicality in a way which is non-invasive. And so there's something about using heat in a gentle way, and the very subtle the vapors of herbs in a way where those things are interacting with the mucous membranes almost homeopathically, because when you're working with a steaming, it's not the same as if you're taking a herbal remedy or if you're massaging with an essential oil. So these are minute compounds, and I think the majority of the benefit is actually coming through inhalation of the vapors and your breath. But as your breath softens, your pelvic floor starts to relax, and all of those connective tissues within the broad ligament and the pelvic ligament, as they start to release and let go, this increases the blood supply to your womb. And so this is actually cleansing and healing and rebalancing. So if you have an issue, any kind of reproductive issue, then if steaming is done safely, it's going to be beneficial for you, because it's about making you feel safe and relaxed. And, you know, you're having this good experience where you're smelling these wonderful herbs. And, you know, ideally you'll be doing it in a circle with other women. So I just really want to break down these misconceptions around this practice, because we're not doing it to tighten the vagina or to make it smell better. It's not about cleansing, it's about healing, it's about relaxing and really centering yourself and having these feelings of pleasure, you know, which are coming from your yoni, but no one's touching you. So it's like, it's completely non-invasive. And so I think for people that have suffered with any kind of trauma, yoni steaming is again, it's a really fantastic practice. So this is what I'm teaching my temple arts practitioner students this weekend. We're gonna have such a good time.
I love that. I just love so much how you bring it all into the physical. You've got such, it's about touch, or about the body, and about bringing it into life in that way. And also for everybody watching, there is nobody that I would trust more to be not just have the spiritual wisdom, but also Bliss will, when she says she's researched, she has properly researched. You know, she is, you've got many letters after your name, and haven't you? You are a researcher too.
Yeah, so I do have a research master's in health and well-being, and my dissertation thesis focused on women's experiences of living through cancer and how touch impacted on that journey. So I also designed a study which was looking at rebozo during pregnancy and birth. So, you know, I'm just so keen to improve the kind of health journey for people who are living this feminine experience. And so that's not just limited to women, but, you know, anyone who identifies as a femme. I think we've all suffered under patriarchy, so it's really important for us to kind of speak up for one another. And this kind of feminized experience of life is something that needs to be celebrated and brought back into holiness, you know. So we're it's like the holiest whole of holes, So whether you have a vagina or not, whether you have a womb or not, if you're carrying this energy, which is goddess energy, then you have this sacred power of birthing, and so you can birth things energetically. You know, you can birth things spiritually. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical womb or a physical yoni, but I think there's something about this the source, coming back to the source, and that is the center of everything. There's this void between the universes, and this has this infinite potential for manifestation, for healing, for creativity. So we just need to get ourselves back into that portal place, which is, it's represented by all these Sheela gigs in churches. You know, we just need to climb right up inside there and find all the treasure that she's keeping for us. Don't be afraid.
I love that so much. I wonder if I could just take you sort of out a little bit out of the detail of what you do. And something that's been sort of floating through my mind a little bit this week. And I thought, well, Bliss is totally the person to talk to this about, or to ask for her opinion on this, is of the priestess. And what is a priestess to you? What does it mean? Where does it come from? Or what would you like to say about priestessing?
Yeah, so of course this is trending. So there's all of these like hashtag.
Oh, she's gone. She's dropped out. She'll come back. Yeah, so it really struck me the other day about priestessing and being a priestess, because I didn't come into being a priestess through many of the sort of more well-known routes. I didn't train in Glastonbury. I didn't get my priestessing sticker to say this is who you are. And I know that Bliss has lots of connections into priestessing, and she is a priestess, and she trains in priestessing, and she knows lots of people who do this work. So I just, when she, hopefully, if she pops back in, and if she doesn't, we clearly weren't meant to hear from Bliss on priestessing. Let me just check my messages here. No, she'll probably be coming back in, hopefully. Yeah, and I only really realised a few weeks ago just how she's giggling, just how bang on it was actually for me to choose that word. That okay, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing here in the world, but this is the work that I do. I work shamanically, and I work with women. And like Bliss was just saying, this isn't about anyone having a womb. This is about anybody that identifies as femme. For me, in my practice, it's really clear for me that it's not about somebody's biology. It's all about the energy. Okay, Bliss is trying to come back in, so we'll see if she manages. I haven't got it yet, Bliss, so thank you. Keep trying, and if you're not meant to come back in, you're not meant to. Yeah, and only really realizing so recently that, yeah, actually, I am here to essentially hold the hand of and remind you of your power. Yeah, to do some healing work with you, but really it is about bringing a mirror in and helping you reflect back on yourself about what your power is and how you show up in the world. Oh, here we go. Bliss has managed to get herself back in. That's brilliant. Well done. So that was great. We had a little interval, and
Yeah, so it's a real thing. There's a real resurgence about this. So yes, you can be a priestess and have fabulous photos of yourself in water with a veil over your head. So that is one version of the priestess. I was talking about this with someone in the temple today, and I was saying that for me, to be a priestess means that you are willing to step up and be seen in your connection to the divine. And so to hold the place of a priestess is to light a beacon, to light a lamp so that others can find you, so they can find that connection to the divine, which is the place that the priestess holds. So there are many ways of priestessing. And so one way of priestessing is to create a physical container, a temple that you can enter into in order for people to come and connect with the divine. But your priestessing may be something which is much more action based. So you may be priestessing in terms of holding ceremony for others, or initiating or teaching others. You may be priestessing in the form of being a healer, of someone who is creating a safe space for people to release their wounding and their suffering and step back into their wholeness. So I think when I looked at ancestral priestesses and, you know, the reality of who a priestess was, I discovered Enheduanna, who was a Mesopotamian Sumerian priestess 4,500 years ago. And so she was incredible because she was the first known female author. She was, you know, this kind of astrocartographer. She was charting the movements of the planets, particularly the planet Venus, who is represented as the goddess Inanna in the mythology. But she, you know, you have to think of her, she was like NASA, she was like the Department of Agriculture because she was overseeing the planting of the crops and the agriculture. And she was also a politician, so she was uniting the two different peoples who had been conquered under her father's rule. So she was the daughter of Sargon the Great. You know, and so he had really come into this place of uniting two different cultures. So she completely changed the pantheon and the stories around the gods and the goddesses. You've got to think she's actually shaping the archetypal and philosophical stories that are underpinning people's spiritual practices. So in the modern day, I kind of feel as though we have this idea of this like two-dimensional priestess who is in a temple, and you know she looks very beautiful, and maybe she's dispensing these kind of sound bites of spiritual wisdom. But I think to be a priestess, you can actually be much more than that. So you can be very learned, you can be someone who is a scientist, you can be someone who is an engineer, and you can still be holding sacred space. So I think we need to really look beyond this kind of idea of the aesthetic of the priestess, and look more into what does it actually mean to live in devotion, to hold sacred space for others, and to really empower the resurgence of the divine feminine. So for me, being a priestess is also being an activist. And a lot of what I do is about working with social justice movements, working to transcend this idea of oligarchy, of power over, which is at the heart of patriarchy. So for me, priestessing is always about bringing in people who are at the margins and bringing them into the center. And so my work as a priestess, a lot of my work is about helping and supporting other priestesses to begin being more inclusive in their practices, and really taking into account the wounds of white supremacy and colonialism, as well as ecocide. So how can we heal those massive woundings within our culture in order to step back into living in a sacred way? And so, like, for me, that is the heart of my priestessing, which it's a little bit different. I would love to pose in the sea with a veil, but I just don't have time, because I'm creating community within my town. you know, and like building that container for people to step into radical participation, you know, shining their gifts in the way that is their, you know, your passion, the thing that is your passion, that is your magic, that is your gift in this world. And so we're putting together a camp, actually, Gloucestershire Goddess Camp. You can come, and it's a radical participatory camp, so you can, whatever it is that you're into, you can come and share it at that camp, you know, for the love of Goddess. So like, yeah, it's so many things, but my private practice, my personal practice, is really about being in my garden, like spending time with my chickens and planting seeds. I've got, at the moment, I've got all my seeds are lined up on my altar. So I can't wait. I can't wait to get into the greenhouse, you know, and start planting things. So it's like, there's that private practice that I have, and my kind of sacred sexual priestess who is a lover. I've had some amazing, wonderful sexual experiences, you know, in recent days, and so for me, that is devotion. You know, there's that chant, all acts of love and pleasure are her rituals. So that is my personal practice, is sex and mud and chocolate. And then there's this kind of, you know, stepping out into the world and like rocking it, you know, we have to show up. So I think priestessing is showing up.
Yeah.
And I know for you,
yeah,
you are an activator. You light the lamp within others.
And it's just, I'm finding it's, while you weren't here, while you had your interval, I was just saying that I just find it so interesting how I dived into this work with a, oh, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but this seems to be what I'm absolutely meant to be doing. And then have as I've gone along, yeah, that is the activator, that, and the word priestess does really seem to fit it, you know. And I really love, I'm getting all tingly actually as I'm thinking about it. I really love
that language. You can speak the language of the stars. My mum can do that as well.
I just love as well the freedom that, yeah, we're allowed to just go out and do our work and find out along the way. You don't have to turn up like a fully formed package of, oh, this is exactly what I do, and here are my bullet points. You can go out there and you can spend a year, 2 years, 20 years just living it and building something and going, oh, that path, and following your intuition as you go, and you learn to trust yourself more. And then, and as you were talking about your beautiful, amazing priestess roles, and I was thinking about all these amazing women that I know and have the absolute pleasure to work with, who they all have their own thing. And like you said about the camp, it's about them, every one of us, bringing the things that make us shine, and that were the things that we're really good at innately and really in love with, and maybe have gone through absolute hell to heal. And those are the things that we're meant to be bringing into the world. And we're not meant to be good at everything, and we're not meant to be passionate about everything. And there's probably things that we are really good at and we are really passionate about that maybe our brain is saying, oh no, don't do that, that's a bit vain, or that's a bit, whatever it is that we shove into our shadows. But actually, whatever it is that you're good at and whatever it is that you're passionate about is so important, because you're going to do it beautifully and with love, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I knew that I was a priestess. I've always known, but I didn't call myself a priestess until I had gone through a process of working with my core woundings, really like taking accountability for my own bullshit. I had to really step through that crucible of transformation. And I think that's important, is stepping into your power. It does mean coming face to face with your shadow and really owning your wounded places and kind of integrating those and welcoming them back home. And when you can go through that process, then you can begin to hold space for other people to step into their power. And so, you know, there's different levels of this. Like my daughter was priestessing with me today, and it was so fantastic. We were sat in circle, and, you know, the other girls in the circle, she's 15, and the other girls in the circle are a little bit younger. And she was really able to share her journey and her story and to be real about it, to be authentic about what it was that made her uncomfortable, the pain sometimes that she has, the tiredness around her moon time. But in doing that, in really speaking the truth of her experience, she made it safe for the other girls in the circle to be there and to speak their truth as well. I was so proud of her, you know, and that moment when she took on the role of the priestess in the ceremony and she placed the moon crown on her sister's head, you know, and she said, welcome to your moon time, sister, you know. And I was like, she's a priestess, you know. So that is it, you know. It is about realness, and I think it's also about authentic presence as well. And so in whatever way you can show up authentically, that can be your sacred priestess practice. So I mean, we are running a course, we're running a training in Gloucestershire, which is the Wheel of the Cotswold Goddesses. And so we're exploring these 9 historically worshipped goddesses of the Cotswolds. So if you go to the Stroud Goddess Temple, goddesstemplestroud.com website, then you can find out more about, you know, but that again, it's like a collaborative training. So we've got 9 facilitators and we're all bringing different gifts. So some of us are druids, some of us are witches. We've even got a lady who works with horses. You know, we're going to be doing like boundaries work with these horses for sovereignty. So it's just going to be really incredible. And it's been so amazing in all these meetings. I'm not a fan of meetings, but these meetings that we've been having to plan the course are incredible because there's just these amazing wise women. And so they're all bringing their gifts and what they're passionate about into this process of empowering others. And so, you know, it's like you could call yourself a priestess, but you could just also call yourself like a fully realized, passionate human being, you know, and that would be kind of the same thing. So I think to be a priestess means to be fully alive. And then to dance, you know, to dance with others and almost dancing that remembering of our aliveness back into others, because that is a Shakti, you know, that is the energy of the goddess is full aliveness and presence. And so if you can be fully alive, then you can priestess.
Just a little ask there, being fully alive. So before we finish, Bliss, one gorgeous woman, M, has asked, who was the priestess that you were talking about earlier? Could you spell her name out, or I'll type it in afterwards?
It's Enheduanna. So she's the ornament of N. She's, you know, that's what her name means in Sumerian. So if you look her up, Enheduanna, you can find there was like a TED talk or a little animation about her life. And you can find loads of amazing resources about her writing. So, you know, there's a wonderful book about her, which is Lady of the Largest Heart, I think it's called. And she wrote a poem called The Exaltation of Inanna, which is about her exile into the desert and then her redemption. And so I think it's a great story about embracing our shadows and our suffering, but, you know, through our devotion to the sacred feminine, you know, we find ourselves absolved, we find ourselves, you know, in that place of surviving. And there's something inside of us that's like a diamond. And I think when you reach that place where you've lost everything, like the descent of Inanna is the most famous mythology about this, where Inanna descends into the underworld to visit her sister and she's killed. You know, she's stripped of all of her ornaments. She comes into that place of really finding the essence of her being, and then she's reborn and she emerges more powerful than ever. You know, so you have to really, we're all going through this journey archetypally, but I think as her priestess, like Enheduanna, she's become like my hero priestess of all the priestesses that I've heard about. I gave a talk about her at the Goddess Conference, and I included this thing about intentionality, so writing your code of what it is that you stand for and your mission, you know, what it is that you're bringing into the world. So it was really great. I got everyone to like get their notebooks out. I said, if you've got a clay tablet, you know, then you could do it traditionally. So I think it's really good to take the time to do that, particularly if you are interested in being a priestess. What is it that you stand for? And what is it that you are bringing into the world? Those are the questions that you've got to ask yourself. And I believe in you, you can do it.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Bliss. I'm going to put underneath this details of you, your website. There's also a Facebook group that Bliss runs, which is quite in tune with what she was talking about earlier. Is it Woke? What is it, Woke?
Oh, Woke Priestess. Yeah, we started a Facebook group for people that were, you know, interested in this kind of sacred devotional practice, but also wanted to smash capitalism and the patriarchy. So it's mostly just funny memes about that stuff, but it does help me to cope sometimes because, you know, sometimes it's a bit hard to live in this world. So we all need to support each other. Yeah, so it's a bit ironic. It's a bit of a play on that whole wokeism, but also priestessing.
But it keeps people in touch with you as well, doesn't it? So I'll list loads of things underneath it, and I'll be posting this on YouTube by tomorrow. So it'll be there for both on this Facebook page, and everybody's very welcome to share this. I'm sure Bliss will share this video as well, so that everyone can watch it whenever they want to. Yes, gorgeous. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Lovely evening. Bye bye. So that was gorgeous, Bliss, and I really, really enjoyed being here with you all. And much love. Hope to see you soon.